Hi, my name's Leanne Bannister and I'm a clinical psychologist at Combat Stress. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through what happens in the brain when we experience a trauma. You might be wondering, why is it important to know about the brain? Well, research has shown that what goes on in the brain when people experience a traumatic event plays an important role in causing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So to really understand PTSD, we need to know a little bit about the brain. It's complicated stuff, but stick with it if you can. So normally, our experiences are processed by the brain and stored away in an area called the hippocampus. They are effectively filed away as normal memories. But when we experience a trauma, the brain's memory storage system, the hippocampus, can't function as it normally does. In this case, a threat has been detected in the environment, and our brain's alarm system, called the amygdala, kicks in. Now, the amygdala is responsible ultimately for keeping us safe, and it does this by quickly detecting any potential threats in the environment and preparing us to survive them. It does this by triggering what we call the fight-flight-freeze response. The fight-flight-freeze response is caused by the release of adrenaline in the body. Adrenaline causes a range of different changes to happen in your body, such as sweating, an increased heart rate, faster breathing, muscle tension, and in some cases the bladder can empty. These changes are all necessary because they allow us to deal with the situation most effectively. And that might be by tackling the threat head-on, getting away from it, or freezing, hence the term fight-flight-freeze. This is all completely normal, and it's the brain and body's way of keeping us safe, and it's a system that works well most of the time. However, when our amygdala is activated in this way, blood flow to the hippocampus decreases. The hippocampus goes almost completely offline and is unable to file the memory away in our long-term memory store. Instead, the memory is processed through the amygdala, the alarm system. So this is why trauma memories are very different to normal everyday memories, in a number of ways. For example, a key feature of trauma memories is that they're involuntary. So this means that they appear very suddenly and often unpredictably, without any personal control. So they just sort of pop into your head. They also tend to be experienced in the moment, as if the trauma's happening again, rather than it feeling like a memory from the past. Trauma memories are triggered easily by reminders in the environment, and often they're fragmented, which means that you can only remember certain parts of the event. For some people, that might be the worst part or just before it. We also know that trauma memories can be poorly organised and lacking structure, which can actually make it difficult to remember the order in which things happened. And finally, we know that trauma memories are highly sensory, so they involve lots of images and smells and sounds and so on. So you might be wondering, why don't we get PTSD every time we're exposed to a threat, if this is what's happening in the brain? Well, normally, once the threat is over, the hippocampus gets back to work and it finishes the processing that it couldn't do in the heat of the moment. As we think about the event and talk about what happened, our memories are transferred from the amygdala to the hippocampus, and we're able to put the event behind us and get on with our lives. In PTSD, however, because even the memory of the trauma is so threatening, each time it's recalled, that fight-flight-freeze response is triggered all over again. And as we've learned, this results in the hippocampus going offline. So this means the hippocampus is never able to finish its job, the memory gets stuck in the amygdala, and that trauma memory remains unprocessed. So what are the key things to remember about all of this? Firstly, PTSD is partly caused by the effects of trauma on the brain, which is a process that is designed to keep us safe. It is not a result of any kind of weakness or failure on your part. Re-experiencing the trauma through intrusive memories and nightmares is completely normal, And actually it's the brain's attempt to transfer the trauma memory to the long-term memory store, which it wasn't able to do at the time. Finally, because of all this knowledge that we have about PTSD in the brain, helpful treatments are available and the impact of trauma can be reduced.